Welcome to the Career Secrets channel, your hub for high-income career strategies and insider advice. Today, we're joined by Eric Audette, a high-tech sales veteran who's done it all, from cold calls to closing multimillion-dollar deals and leading top-performing teams. Eric shares his career journey, the sales strategies behind his biggest wins, and practical advice for breaking into high-tech sales and growing your income. If you're looking to launch or level up your tech sales career, learn sales strategies and success habits, understand what drives elite sales performance, this episode is for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This episode is packed with real-world insights to help you thrive. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, thank you, Edmund. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you talk about your career journey?
Yes, absolutely. So my background, I come from a computer science and geology university degree. I did mining exploration and realized I didn't want to work in the woods and move back to the city. From there, since I had a science background, I thought, hey, why not focus on technical sales? I've always loved interacting with people and solving problems. Met my wife, moved to Toronto, had the opportunity to join a technical company and leverage the technical background that I have to position solutions to help organizations. So that's pretty much been my beginning. And then from there, I worked at small technical companies, mining machinery organization. Then I went to the IT world. I worked for Compaq. I worked for software company, moved at ADP on the payroll side. And then from there worked also with Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, focused on the large organizations.
Wow. Which one have you enjoyed the most and why? And be careful.
I would say that I really enjoyed working with the later ones, and that being because of the size of the organization, the innovation that was brought forward, and the opportunities that it put in front of me, which was to work with larger companies and help them have a big impact on the way they operate and run their business.
How well do you know your territory? Is it a major advantage to always own the same territory?
Obviously, it is of an advantage to know your territory, know your accounts, being able to compare from one organization to the next and leverage the successes you have in one area, transfer them into the other. So the more you know a specific patch, the more you can help them become more efficient. But it is also of high value that if you get to work with other verticals, whether it be manufacturing, retail, healthcare, and bring some of those best practices into the sector that you focus at that time. So obviously, experience replaces or can bring tremendous value into organizations that are missing or don't see where they could grow.
Great. What are the 2 or 3 things that you do that have made you successful in your career?
One of the key things is understand the main issues your customers are facing, the person specifically in their role, as well as the company itself in its own sector, right? So understand where the problems are so that you can focus on bringing options to them. Remember always that people buy from people. So you want to interact with how you can help them specifically. The other piece that's been a big part of my success is identify quickly who the decision makers are, because you can spend a lot of time with people that are full of problems and have great visions. They have zero decision power. So let's focus on where the decisions are being made and where we bring the most value.
That is so wise. Now, I think this is a really relevant question. How do you go about building rapport with customers?
Great question, Edmund. So the first piece is, obviously, you need to do a little bit of research. You need to find out what the company does, their sector, their problems in their specific areas. when you come to meet a person, obviously being referenced is always a big benefit, makes life a lot easier. So if somebody can reference you to that person and you can highlight, hey, so and so told me to speak to you or referring me to you, it breaks the cold opening and makes it a little bit warmer. From there, try and find areas that you have in common with them. Where can you share experiences with them, whether it's sports or family or food or travel? What are their interests and how can you line up with them? And obviously create that bond that simplifies that interaction. And then don't forget to be thankful of the opportunity to speak with them and validate their interest on where you can bring value to the issues they are facing or might be facing. So if you can identify where they have problems and that you understand their industry, obviously you bring value forward.
Love it. This is right up your alley. Also, you've probably done every role in sales. How has cold calling changed over the years? What's different now?
Yeah. Thank you, Evan. That's a good question. And cold calling will always be cold calling in the sense that it's not easy and it never has been easy. I would say go through the motions and be convinced of what you talk about when you call people so that your tone and your approach is convincing. But in today's market, obviously, so many tools are available to you to increase the knowledge that you have of your customers, your market, the products you have to present to them, and the competition. It's still not easy to open the door on a phone call because a lot of people also have access to that same information and they may do a lot of their research themselves. If you can, as mentioned earlier, open a door with a warmer introduction, try and get references, work. And I think that might be a point that we want to cover later, but work very closely with LinkedIn and tools that are available so that you warm up that introduction. Obviously, it makes that cold calling experience a lot easier. And I would say, make sure you define very clearly say what you do and do what you say. So if you have an opportunity to speak to someone, tell them what you do and then follow up on what you said you were going to do, which helps you strengthen that relationship.
Excellent. What's your most memorable win and what did you do to land it?
I would say it's also one of the biggest win I've had, which was a multimillion-dollar opportunity that spanned over multiple years. The interaction was quickly aligned to the decision maker. It provided information and interaction directly with the CFO and CIO at that level. We clearly defined their problems. We understood the situation. The work was done with a team approach. It's never one person knows everything. You always bring the right resources to support the answers for helping that customer. And it's nice to see that all those pieces align for a win and a signature in an environment that's extremely competitive, and you beat up the incumbent and you end up having a contract that spans over multiple years. So great success. And it's always a lot of fun to see things evolve as you build that momentum.
Thank you. For someone looking to break into high-tech sales, what steps would you recommend?
That's interesting. High-tech sales. One quick question is, what's of your interest? What's high-tech to you? Some people may say high-tech mechanical engineering, but high-tech being technology of IT software vendors, consulting services. Research the companies that have a position in the market. Find out what they do. Understand where they position themselves, what customers are working with them, and where do they have successes? With the tools that we have available today, with all of the AI that's open, nothing stops you from doing proper research and giving you maybe an edge over your competition to position yourself in an interview for a high-tech position. Second piece, we touched on being referenced. Leverage the people you know and the people that you know that they know to help you position yourself in front of those companies that might be of interest to you. Contacts are of high value. Being referenced puts your name on top of a pile. Very recently, I had a conversation with a good friend, and they wanted to apply to a product manager role. That role was perfect for the resume of that person. They wanted to apply. I referred that person internally. And you know what? There was 600 applicants on that role. So if nobody refers them, nobody puts that CV on top of the pile, there's no chance for you to get reviewed, right? So give yourself a chance.
Excellent. There's one thing I wanted to share also is, fortunately, I've been able to work with some of the biggest companies in the world, and they have references and references. I think you and I know which company that is. Some of the products or solutions have success stories this thick.
Yes.
Hundreds and hundreds of customers. I found that for us candidates to learn about the companies and the value propositions and some solutions and how they can resolve issues for customers is all in there. So you can learn a lot about the company and do the deep research by reading the success stories.
Totally agree.
You think they need to be technical to succeed in technology sales?
So that's a very good point. I think that you need to have interest and the will to learn. You don't need to be highly technical to be successful in technical sales. A great software developer might be a very bad salesperson because they dig too deep into the details of what they do, right? They could be a very good salesperson if they manage to address customer issues and problems that need to be solved. So you don't necessarily need to be technical. And then the other piece that I want to add to this, I mentioned earlier, large deals may involve you pull the resources that bring the expertise that you need to the table. So you need to orchestrate your team, your presentations in line with customer needs and customer expectations.
Excellent. Next question. What do you think are the key traits of a top-performing sales executive?
I would say the first one is be able to listen. Listen to what your customer needs. Let them speak about their requirements because you're helping them, and without them, you don't have a job. The second one is, and I think it's quite important, is have a sense of urgency. Address that problem with rapid response. They have a need, address it right away. You have an answer, share it as soon as you can. Make sure that you help them realize that you bring that extra value, because if you're not, somebody else is, and that's where your success lies, whether you win or you lose. I think if you address and leverage those two, you're putting yourself ahead for a winning role.
Love it. Responsiveness and customer advocacy. What's the funniest thing you've ever heard from a customer?
The funniest thing I've ever heard, there are many, because throughout the course of many years, many stories happen. One I can share that's quite interesting is going to large conferences, tagging along with C-level executives. One of the funniest things I've had to do was to get gravel and Tylenol for the CIO of a large company because the night prior was too much of a tough night. It did definitely affect them, but that meant that they also had a good time and ends up in building closeness and tightness in the relationship.
Good story.
Yeah.
What's your take on AI for a salesperson?
I think that there's no way you can be extremely efficient in today's market without leveraging AI. There's so much information that can be pulled from AI that you need to leverage, but it's a tool. It's a tool to help you become even more valuable to your customers. And you need to learn to use all different tools that will help you support your sales process. I hope that answers your question, Edmund. It's how I use it to complement and sometimes research very quickly and get summaries of positioning to help me be more value added in front of our customers.
It does. Thank you. What do you do for networking and how much time do you spend on LinkedIn?
I would have to say that LinkedIn is a key tool that I use every day. I don't spend a day without having LinkedIn open. It's amazing because it does connect people and it helps you see who connects with whom. So help you try and get that warm introduction into customers. I also use AI. We just talked about AI to research companies, research people, research articles that will support what I do, but also research my competition so that I position myself in a way that stands out, right? And obviously, what do I do for networking? Any conferences that are tied to my sector, to my customers' environment, position myself to be present in those conferences, bring articles and references to those customers so that it highlights solutions that bring value and helps them maybe come out of the fog of not knowing where to see and clarify their path into directions that may be helpful to me as well as to them.
Excellent. Second, big companies or small companies and why?
Yeah. Yes. That's a good point. Personally, I prefer big companies. But I did start my career with smaller and mid-sized organization. You build up momentum. You build up your errors. You learn from them. You grow. You present better. You position better with your customers as you grow. As you reach into larger companies, you get to work with more people, with larger scale problems, but also with larger scale solutions. You get an opportunity to consolidate multiple aspects of your knowledge to build a solution for your customers. So obviously that's why I like larger companies rather than small. And it's selling to larger companies, but also working with larger companies. Then you have access to more resources, to more varied solution with more support around you to deliver on customer requirements.
I absolutely agree. There's all kinds of opportunities, obviously, with working with big companies. With smaller companies, there's always a challenge with the limited resources and survival.
Correct.
Which for salespeople, I guess we don't want to have to work on those issues. Last question.
Yeah.
Top 2 or 3 pieces of advice you would give to someone who wants to crush it in sales.
Excellent. That's good. First of all, when you work in sales, you're giving a list of accounts or a territory. Within that territory, it's easy to recognize that 80% of your sales will come from about 20% of your accounts. Identify those 20 accounts. Identify where your success will be aligned to so that you have high impact sales. From those, you must have 3 things that need to be done. You need to identify opportunities, obviously, and opportunities are defined by a problem, a timeline, and a budget. If they don't have those 3, you don't have an opportunity. And a clear opportunity lines up in your 20%. Identify decision makers. If you don't have a direct discussion with the decision maker, chances you win a deal are very low. We touched on this earlier. Say what you do. Describe to the customer how you're going to help them, and then do what you say. Follow up on that information. That communication is key, and keep that communication line open. And don't wait 3 weeks to talk to one of your customers because it might be just too long. And always remember, status quo is also your competition. So why would they change? Understand why they would make a change, and also understand what happens if they don't make a change, right? And help them in that path. That would be my key areas of support.
Thank you, Eric. That has been so well done. Just to share with you, in my book, I talk about how to develop strategies, and it coincides with what you were talking about early on. So for me, TCM is for development of strategies. So T stands for timeline, C stands for checklist, which is the research that you do, and M for math, which is the financial part of the solution. So we sing from the same song sheet, and I can understand why you've been so successful in your career. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Edmund. That was great. I really enjoyed our conversation. And even though we're geographically slightly separated, I guess we both went to the same school.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been great. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Thanks, Edmund. Cheers.